I'm going to do soil tests on my soil that I have here in Florida, very sandy soil. Soil testing is done, usually pH is something that's really important. It stands for potential hydrogen, which is a little deceptive. I think that saying pH is good enough. It's really gauging how much acidity is in your soil, where it is measured from 1 to 14. 7 is neutral. Uh, Here, 5 to 6.8 is usually what I find to happen here, which is a pretty good balance for all kinds of vegetables and herbs and various other plants. So when you're looking at doing your soil test, if you can get around that, unless you are dealing with blueberries, which like a lot of acidity in them, I used to oversee the orchard at the center, and the blueberries tended to the pH would get higher because we have aquifer, lime rock in our aquifer, and in the summer you're watering a lot. It would actually cause the pH to come up, and get closer towards the alkaline, lime scenario where we really need to have that brought down. We need to have, for blueberries, 5, 4, very high acidity. If you have it too high, closer to the 6.5 to 7, a lot of times your roots will not take up the nutrients. When we fertilize it, you'll find that your plants will be getting more, the leaves get yellow, things like that. So, for things like blueberries and roses, azaleas, they like a real acidic soil. So, you're going to have to add things like sulfur, things that they'll have fertilizer that actually are made for that will have a higher amount of sulfur in that fertilizer. So in this case, we're going to test. Now I'm testing my ground. I have a lot of things in pots and raised beds, so I'm adding things in there. I'll be testing that later just to get an idea where I stand, what I need to add. When you are making a garden in the ground, you are usually preparing that ground. It will go through a process that if it's not being fertilized for your grass or for some other crop, it will be very low in nutrients. And so you're probably going to have to be adding compost, adding things that will help it with the nutrients that it needs. But before you do that, you want to do a soil test. I have been, for my home, I purchased this product called Rapid Test. I got it from Amazon. So in these kits, you're going to get these little compartment things that you can use, that you're gonna put in, and I'll show you how they tell you. The pH test is done differently than the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potash. Here in Florida, we have a lot of phosphorus in our soils. We have phosphate mines, so needing more phosphorus isn't always the thing you're gonna find it common. You might find your fertilizers to be 6, 6, 6 or 10, 10, 10, just to kind of balance it out. But there'll be a lot of if you look at the fertilizers, you might see 14, 0, 4, so because phosphorus is needed so little, in my test, when I go to do the phosphorus testing, I might see that there's some in there. And sometimes, because we've had so much rain, we had a hurricane, the more rain that you get, the more it flushes out those nutrients, flushes them down. So might not see anything in there. So that's part of why you're testing. You know you need to add something if you're not finding the soil. So in this kit, besides these little compartment things, and they actually have them set up to where you can open this up. It has two compartments. This one gets nothing in it. the big one. The little one is where you're putting everything you need. This is a little chart that as you're putting this in there, it'll tell you what your actual reading is. The bottom one is 4.5, and the top one is 7.5. So your solution in here will change colors, and that'll tell you where you stand. All of them have these charts. That's just mixed a little bit differently. You also have these gelatin capsules that you'll get with this kit. It looks as though they have enough to do 5 samplings. And so these capsules, once you put your soil, a sample of your soil, it'll actually has a little line. You will put your soil to that little line. Then you will open this capsule and pour it in there, and the white powder, whatever the chemical is, will be on top of that. And then they give you a pipette so that you can take a sample of the water, which is distilled water, and you will put that water in there until it gets up to the level that it calls for. So we're going to do the sampling for the pH first. And I'm going to, I have these little tools, and I tend to want to get closer, but this one is a lab tool. And you know, I've collected different tools over the years to do different things. It is basically just a scoop type of thing. I've used it to sow seeds, scoop this up. For people who do not have access, I went to a dollar store. This is like a little mini spade. I'm always looking for stuff. Inexpensive, looks like a little shovel. I think that if I was going to use it for putting the soil into that compartment, it would be this end that I would put it in. So find yourself something that'll make it easy for you to get it. Now, what I've noticed is the soil here has a lot of particles. My property has been a lot of leaves breaking up over the years. So it almost has a gray look in that soil with lots of particles of leaves and different things. So we're going to see. I tried to take it from the parts that weren't so full of particles. If you look at this jar, this is a jar that I mixed up for the other tests, where you have to have it sit for anything from 30 minutes to 24 hours. And you can see all of the particles of leaves and stuff that are floating. So there is a lot more. You might find that whatever soil you have, it might have that. And now when I took some of the soil from North Carolina, it was so full of clay that I didn't have those kind of particles of just very, very thin, silty looking stuff. You shake it and it actually has that orange reddish color. So I've now put the soil up to that line, and I will see if I can get this open without making a mess and get it in there. Now I can tell you that um, you don't want to keep this kit or these capsules in heat or humidity. I had the kit that I got, and it ended up being out in my what I call my cookhouse, where I do a lot of stuff, which is kind of outside. And even in these bags and in the kit thing, it got hot enough and humid enough that they started melting. You don't want to do that. So if you kind of show you how it looks. So you have soil, and then you have the um, whatever the powdered chemicals that help you get what you need. And then I'll probably need more than one pipette because I have this line at the top. There you go. And I'm going to fill it up to that line. So now Something that I didn't say that I'm going to say: read the directions before you start to do this. Um, for the most part, uh, I had read this before, but I don't remember. I think I've got a minute for this particular stuff to settle in, and I have to read this again to make sure. But I'm trying to make sure that I'm really shaking, shaking, shaking. So I've let it sit for a minute, and it appears as though what we have is probably this right here, and that is 6. So it's in a little bit more on the acidic side than it is towards alkaline. And if I wanted to get that up a little bit, get that soil pH up, I could add a little bit of lime, which is kind of unusual. This is a case where I have a lot of leaves in this layer of soil that I've taken. So it's probably this. It's why the azaleas would do well around here, blueberries, stuff like that. Although it likes it even more what we call sour as opposed to sweet, which is a higher lime alkaline. So that tells me that my pH is probably somewhere around 6. Now I'm going to test the nitrogen, the phosphorus, and the potash. I'm going to assume that it might be very low if I've got any nutrients in there at all, but I'm going to test anyhow. I'll be doing the same thing for my raised bed where I have my asparagus, since it's much deeper. And after the winter comes and the asparagus dies back, I'll cut it back to the ground, and I'll be adding some nutrients then, depending on what those soil tests show me. So this is the nitrogen. It's kind of a purple. I've already, I'm getting ahead of myself. The kit describes making the solution that you need to test this with a 5-to-1 ratio. So it would be for 1 of the soil, say 1 ratio versus 5 water, uh, for lack of a better way to say that. I actually used a half a cup of my soil and 2.5 cups of the water. And I'm using distilled water. So the water is 5 times more than what the soil is. It tells you to shake it up real good and then let it sit. It says 30 minutes to 24 hours, and for me, it was easy enough to leave it for 24 hours. So then I get this kind of a division in there, and it says the clearer the better, but the cloudiness will not really affect the test. So I've gone ahead and put the dropper full up to the line, and I will now, for this one, it's the purple. Purple. We want to put the purple in the purple container, and we want to go ahead, try to do what I can. See if I can not spill it everywhere or knock over the water. So this has a lot of nice directions with it. It also has a chart that if you're growing a particular plant, herb, bush, it tells you where. I'm trying not to spill this everywhere. I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to use this little scoop. I'm going to put it in here because I'm worried about making a mess and not getting all of the product in. So we're doing this. We do this. So we'll take that and put it in here. Then I put my purple cap on and shake. And what I found is that even though you shake it, doesn't, sometimes the weight still settles on the bottom. It could be that the last one I did was older and I was dealing with the capsules melting. We'll find out. I bought a fresh kit because I wanted a good reading. Okay, the next one is the phosphorus, blue. Here we go. Blue capsule. I'm gonna put it in here. Okay, I'm not gonna worry about the fractions of powder that I ended up pulling off. And we're gonna put the top on here. Shake, 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 shake. The difference in this is it has to kind of settle and do what it needs to do for 10 minutes. And then this is the potash, color coding. Yay. Make it easy. It's like, all right. Mhm. And I didn't bring my paper towels over. So, with you being able to do your own soil tests, it's going to make it to where you don't have to wait. You don't have to get the container. If you prefer not, then just go to your local extension. I will call them ahead of time. Make sure not all extension offices do the same things. I think pretty much they will. Okay, this one's going to give me a hard time. Since I'm filming, some others I've done, I just cut them. I got impatient enough that I cut them. But this one's moving. It is moving. Watch. Ah, okay. So I get to show you that everything doesn't work as snappy as it should. Perfect. And when you want to try to improvise, so I'm going to go with, here we go. I'm not going to worry about that minor amount. Come on. You can do it. It's funny how I'll be able to do this without any problems. And then I can definitely tell you that when the capsules got hot, that was a real mess while I'm shaking this. This soil had so much debris that I actually filtered the sand, into my cup here so that I would not take up the space with pieces of things. And that's what I put in here. So shake it real good. And then we're going to let it go for 10 minutes. And I had it set for 10 minutes. I'm going to let it go for 10 minutes. And then we'll come back. But that's your soil test kit. And we'll see how it goes and we can talk about that. Okay? Okay, it's been 10 minutes and I have the solution. I have to say that as I can see it, Our solution, and let's see if I can make this go to, I have some skylights. See if we can tell. There's nothing. It is depleted. Okay, this one doesn't even have a purple hue that the nitrogen would have. And so we know there's no nitrogen in this soil. And then for the phosphorus, it's hard to tell, but there's just ever so slight a tint of blue in this. And that would take it to the bottom one. But the bottom one says it's a 0. It's still depleted. Potash is the same thing. We're in that mode where, to me, I can see a slight tinge of orange, but it is not even as orange as where it says depleted. So that means even if you saw some, it's depleted. You're going to need to add. So this soil test allowed for me to go ahead and know that if I decide to do anything in the ground, I'm going to want to plant some loquats that I got seeds that came up from. I might want to put some of my rosemary in some areas in the ground. I'm going to need to do things to try to get that soil amended. Because the soil pH is closer to 6, I'm going to be possibly planting some lavender, and lavender likes the more lime. It likes alkaline, so I'm going to have to add some lime to that. So there's things, if I'm going to start doing some mending, I tend to like to have the organic type fertilizers. So I will be looking at things that will get all of those up. Or even doing and I'm going to want to, you're wanting to mix some of this nutrients in the top, say 12 layers, 12 inches of soil, so that as the roots grow, they'll continue to get what they need. You can always amend with fertilizers. Know that you need to have watering, rain. You have to monitor those things. You can't just put that stuff in there and not make sure that you're watering, a little bit to get that fertilizer to go down with the roots and into the roots. Too dry, you put fertilizer on top and not get it watered in. You don't want it to water in an inch. That's just not going to do it. If anything, if you don't get it in there enough, the roots come to the top to seek that nutrient. And then you have to know that if you get a lot of rain, getting an inch a week in nice soil is one thing. But if you have very dry soil and you're just watering and it still only goes down a little ways, you got to learn to monitor your soil. I have purchased some water testing uh, things from Amazon. It has a rod in it, and it lets you know. I could put it in 3 inches and see that it's wet, and take it down another 3 inches and see that it's dry. So you want to really, those things are very important. If people say they don't know why they're having problems, there's a lot to growing. Some people have the green thumb and they hardly have to do anything. And then some people have that, what they call a brown thumb. I tend to think that my thumb isn't real green, but it's not brown. But I do know I have to watch how much I fertilize, how much it rains, kind of gauge all those things. If you have good drainage, then you're going to be okay as far as not worrying about getting too much water. When I was up in North Carolina, too much water in the clay soil caused roots to die. So there's a lot to it, and soil testing is probably, I advise, very important. One of the first things you should do.